A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our last bit of coverage of the second running of the 24, the ultimate endurance race, brought to you by TB Kart, SRL and IRK Promotion. Well, the run to the checkered flag truly begins with 65 minutes on the timer, and PF Racing are still leading the way, but we get into this final chapter of what has been a twice around the clock adventure nearly so far here at the Pista South Milano at Ottobiano. And a big welcome once again to our viewers on Gold TV channel 809, IRK TV YouTube, IRK Promotion Facebook, and on Digital Italian TV channel 244. You've been in the company of myself, Alex, and also our two reporters, Ricardo and Yelenia, all the way through our live coverage since we started yesterday afternoon, when the Italian Tricolore sent us on our way just over 22 and a half hours ago. But there are still things to be decided. There are still minimum pit stop times to be served. And when you think about it, well, Kart 11, the Swiss team, who have currently got Riccardo Tossato behind the wheel, who's been behind the wheel now, has been on track for an hour and 25 minutes. So that is going to be a very, very long time that driver will have been effectively the backbone of the team. And that is going to be more than 6.5 hours. As PF Racing have come into the pits, Nicholas Kruger behind the wheel. They are the defending champions, and they, at this moment in time, will have served just over 54 minutes in the pits. But there are minimum times that the teams have to be, there are a total amount of pit stop time that each team must accumulate before the end of the race. And in the case of the number 12, it's got to be 60 minutes and 45 seconds. There is also the number 10 in pit lane, Debris Racing, the Belgian squad. Tyre pressure still being adjusted on karts all the way through the course of this race. And so far, we have completed a total of 1,146 laps, which equates to just over 1,581 kilometres. We have had dry conditions all the way through this run, the second edition of the 24 here at Ottobiano. So PF Racing, they will possibly have a driver swap. Now, the thing is, Vickers Schleds took the opening stint. Will the young hotshot bring that kart home for the team? But bearing in mind, this is their 20th pit stop. And, there's one team that's now had another penalty, a 2-lap penalty on their 1,032nd lap, because drivers cannot double stint. They have to change the driver. Obviously, if the kart has a technical issue, then that may be foregone. Debris Racing have been in the pits for 3 3/4 minutes. Bremo 69 have just had a 10-second penalty for being half a kilo underweight. Meantime, there's a battle out on track between Sparkart Racing and RG Racing for position. And that is for 16th place. Team Volturno now in the pits, and if they team 29 have to serve 60 minutes and 50 seconds. So they've basically got to be in that pit lane for just over 4 minutes. If they do that, then the good thing is that'll put them over their pit stop window time that they need to accumulate. And PF Racing, they are really keeping this. Now, this pit stop could be a possibility of deciding what might happen. Now, The closest team to them is NAC team, who started on pole position. Nicola Santi was the driver that started their kart. As we now are counting down the seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the final hour, 60 minutes to go until the checkered flag flies on the start-finish straight. And this could be a little bit of a strategy game. NAC team still have to serve. Now that's kart 28. They've got to serve another few minutes. So PF Racing come out and they have accumulated 57 minutes and 46 seconds in pit lane, which means their last pit stop has to be 3 minutes or more to hit the minimum required time accumulated. Play kart, the team from Switzerland in the number 11 are now in pit lane. They've spent nearly 2 minutes in it. The same with Team Volturno. Volturno in the number 29. One of the many Italian teams are also in pit lane. But at the moment, there is, and at the bottom of the timing screen, it's now shown what teams have to accumulate. Now, obviously, there were penalties issued during the race. So, given the currently assigned penalties, total pit time is being shown. Kart 1 has to serve 66 minutes and 8 seconds. Kart 2, 60.15. There's the Gaz Racing team. They have pitted in from 12th position in the number 32. Now, a full tank on these R1 4-stroke 390cc Honda-powered karts producing 18 horsepower. A tank can last up to an hour and a half. So, PF Racing. They've changed over to Dennis Höller. Now, the minimum time a driver can spend in a kart is 10 minutes. But it's going to come down to that last pit stop or two. So, Formula Zero from Spain, they have served 54 minutes and 34 seconds in the pit lane. Team Volturno will very shortly hit their minimum accumulation time. So kart number 26 so Formula Zero, just keeping an eye on what, so Team Volturno, kart number 29, 60 minutes and 50 seconds. I think they've exceeded it. Let's see. That kart's going out. Team Volturno, yes, they've done it. 1 hour, 1 minute and 24 seconds. So that is that's 34 seconds more than the required accumulation time. So now it's going to be down to Salvatore Nito for Team Volturno. Has an opportunity. 8 laps down from the leaders, but it is going to be the race between PF Racing and NAC team. That is going to be the big deciding factor here. So Gaz Racing team in the number 32. 60 minutes and 30 seconds. They have, I think they've exceeded their minimum accumulation for pit time. Let's see. So Gaz RT, kart number 32, 60 minutes and 30 seconds minimum pit lane accumulation time. And Gaz Racing Team, 1 hour, 1 minute and 12 seconds. They've hit the minimum window. Formula Zero now in pit lane in the number 26 from 5th on the road. As Andres Labniks for Movers LV, the Latvian team. So Formula Zero now having some spray grease putting onto the chain, and the drivers are instructed to hit the throttle to rotate it, so that lubrication can permeate around the chain, which will thereby help to lubricate the sprockets on the rear axle. But there are big battles happening. 12th position, contested by Armax Junior, Slipstream Racing and S-Kart Working. They are 3 seconds apart between the 3 teams. So there are going to be battles down to the wire. Then you look at, I think it's 15th place, RG Racing, Sparkart Racing, Gas RT and Swiss Outfit Cartel in the number 6. That is the battle from 15th to 18th on the road. And they're covered by just a shade over 3 seconds, with 53 minutes and 30 seconds on the timer remaining. Now, Cartel have had a penalty revoked, basically with regards to pit without a driver change, basically for technical reasons. As there is Kart 1, Electro Group Karting, now taking on fuel, pitting from 35th on the road. And Formula Zero go out of pit lane, and that pit stop was enough to put them 57 minutes and 19 seconds. So they still will have one more pit stop to make. And for the number 26, they're going to need to do, just to be on the safe side, do a 4-minute pit stop. You want to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. But some teams have, I mean, currently looking at the top 10 in terms of pit stops. PF Racing, 20 pit stops. NAC Team, 22. Red Racing, 20. Playkart, 20. Movers LV have only done 18 pit stops. And they're about 7 laps behind. But could this possibly get them into an opportunity, maybe, for a possible podium? Now, just after we went off air, KMRS Racing, their kart broke down at the mid part of, well, the final stretch of the second sector, and then the kart had to be pushed via the safety car back to pit lane. So there's still there's that uncertainty feeling in the air, that atmosphere that surrounds the last hour, and this for the teams and the drivers and their managers, some of which who have got croaky voices, may have to play their strategy cards close to their chest. But because we've had dry running, we are absolutely going to smash the total distance recorded at last year's 24. As we're only a handful of laps away, I'd probably say about 7 or 8 laps away from hitting 1,600 kilometres total distance covered. So 10 minutes of this final hour has elapsed. But with the two leaders running in the mid 1 minute 9s, which they've pretty much done all the way through the night, we have had only one team decide to retire, and that was on their 819th lap. Stellar job by the GoTV team, Kart 18. They gave it a really, really good run and opted after 17 hours to call it time. So Kart 19, Gasseria 361 in the pits. Now with only 4 laps separating the top 3, it's going to be a matter of course as to what happens. How will the strategies play out? Will anyone have a bit of a wild card? At this point, we've seen a lot of people being found to be less than a kilo underweight. And that also parlays with regards to the hydration aspect. Because as you perspire, you need to replenish that liquid. So Gasseria 361. Looks like Massimo Ordelli behind the wheel of that now. That kart has now gone out. And Gasseria 361, which is kart number 19, needed to do 1 hour and 40 seconds in the pit lane. They've done 2 minutes more, so they've hit their minimum accumulation. As there we see the number 23 in the pits. That's one of the Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus crews. That's Team 2. But you can cut the atmosphere like a hot knife through cold butter. The temperature has increased in the meantime. We are now at 24 degrees Celsius. And there is kart number 31, Bremo 77. Now, kart number 31, their minimum pit lane accumulation time is to be 61 minutes and 36 seconds. They have reached that, as that kart is now coming in for what is more than likely going to be its last refueling. Right, play kart is in. Play kart is in from 4th position. So kart 11 has to hit a minimum pit lane accumulation time. Good tactic there by Daniel Manetti to not cause any dramas with the brake and the throttle whilst the Team TB kart are refueling it. Puts the feet back on the pedals and off he goes. So Blakehart's been in the pits for just over a minute. Blakehart's minimum accumulation time in the pit lane must be 60 minutes and 35 seconds. And there we catch a glimpse of our race leader for PF Racing, Dennis Höller, behind the wheel for the team from Germany. Of course, we've got 13 different nationalities represented. We've got Turkey, we've got Greece, we've got Cyprus, we've got the United Kingdom, Spain, the state of Qatar, Algeria. So there has been a pass on track, and it was Bremo 58 getting through. Okay, Blakehardt still in the pit lane. They're going to stretch this pit stop out as far as they can. And wearing the wonderful Ayrton Senna replica helmet is Sandro Sottili for the Blakehardt team. So they have had a driver change. So Sandro will be given the signal when to go. And that will mean a little bit of waiting. But they don't want... Now, they've got to play this strategy right. So they're now at 56.5 minutes of total pit lane accumulation time. I love the fact that Sandro's race helmet matches his race suit as well. And that would have been from the old McLaren days when the late Ayrton Senna would have won 3 Formula 1 world titles, all 3 with McLaren and all with Honda power in 1988, 89 and 91. Now the interesting thing is, now the good thing is for Sandro, it's a very, very short run to the timing antenna coming out of pit lane, whereby his bracelet, his transponder bracelet, will be picked up and it will show a different driver on the live timing. And all drivers have had to wear these since we got underway with time qualifying. And Sandro Sottili goes out, and Blakehardt now, their next pit stop has to be over 3 minutes and 1 second. 3 minutes and 6 seconds to meet their minimum pit lane accumulation time spent in the pit lane. But I'm really interested in what's happening at the sharper end of the field. Now, looking at it from this perspective, NAC Racing could do just shy of a 5-minute pit stop by about, I would say, now they've got to be their total minimum pit lane accumulation time. And this is for NAC team. Number 28, minimum pit lane accumulation time over the duration of the 24 has to be 60 minutes. So that's 1 hour and 20 seconds. So they basically have to come out with around 14, 15 seconds to spare to be 1 or 2 seconds over. And then they've reached, or they may stretch it out just on the cusp of a 5-minute pit lane, 5-minute pit stop. Kart 26 is in, Formula Zero. Slipstream Racing are also in the pits. The number 2 kart has to spend 1 hour and 15 seconds. and they may hang. Yes, they can. They would be able to extend this in this window on this pit stop. So this is quite crucial, how the teams play the game. So when Dennis Huller comes in, the next pit stop has to be significant. It has to be more than 3 minutes and 4 seconds. They've got to be in their minimum pit lane accumulation time has to be 60 minutes and 50 seconds. So right, so we just had an advisory about JPRTF. The pit without driver change on lap 1032 allowed for technical reasons. But the big question is, when will we see PF Racing dive into pit lane for their final stop? NAC team, Red Racing. Now bearing in mind, we've got Baptiste Van der Beek back behind the wheel of KMRS Racing, the team from Belgium, who finished second last year. So they're 8 laps, well, they're 8.5 laps behind off of the leaders. Formula Zero has come back into the pit lane, I believe. So Formula Zero, the team from Spain, right. They've got to be more than 3 minutes and 50 seconds in that pit lane. More than 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Call it 4 minutes. So, well, looks like we're going to head over to the grandstand. Let's hand it over to Jelenia standing by.
Eccoci, ben trovati direttamente dalle tribune. In questo caso non sono né con dei piloti né con dei team manager, ma sono con degli spettatori, Gabriel ed Edoardo, che sono venuti a godersi un po' questo spettacolo. Com'è stata questa gara? Insomma, cosa state vedendo fin qui, vista ovviamente con gli occhi di un esterno? Vi sta piacendo?
Ma bella, mi piace, mi sta piacendo.
Sì, è molto bella, è interessante come vedere anche le strategie che hanno, magari diverse.
Ma voi siete dei piloti, cioè correte in generale o solo appassionati?
No, solo appassionati.
E siete della zona?
Di Biella siamo.
Quindi avete deciso di farvi una giornata diversa e di venire a guardare?
Un po', per cambiare un po', per vedere qualcosa di nuovo, bello.
Ma c'è qualcosa che state invidiando magari ai piloti che in questo momento stanno correndo in pista?
Ma in generale essere in pista a me piace, quindi vederli anche correre mi entusiasma molto. Sì.
Quindi magari prima o poi li vedremo anche loro in pista. Ecco, linea a voi, questo era anche per darvi un po' le sensazioni, soprattutto l'atmosfera che si respira qui in tribuna, perché sì, ci sono familiari, ci sono anche i vari team che si stanno godendo la gara da una posizione, ecco, più privilegiata, più dall'alto anziché dai box, però ci sono anche tanti curiosi che sono venuti qui a godersi questa 24 ore perché, lo ripetiamo, è un evento come sempre leggendario. A voi.
Thank you very much, Jelenia. Up there in the grandstands, people still keeping an eagle eye on what is happening as we're down to the final 36 minutes of this race. Now, the big thing is, with regards to the pit lane entry, the pit lane will be closed in just over 25 minutes. So once we hit 10 minutes to go, it is no pit lane. The pit lane will be closed officially. So it is down to what happens. Now, the thing is, with regards to total pit time, if, and this is a big if a team decides that they are going to go flat out and not pit, what will happen is that there is a non-compliance penalty, which is 30 seconds plus the additional time that is missing. So whatever these teams have to do, they have to hit their minimum compliance, reference pit lane time accumulated. But could those pit stops happen roundabout with 20, maybe even 15 minutes to go? But with NAC team just 2 laps behind PF Racing, the final chapter of the 24 by TB Kart and IRK promotion, that final chapter has yet to be written in front of our very eyes here at Ottobiano at the Pista South Milano. There is a lot of hard in the mouth moments, but let's head back down to Jelenia, who's standing by with some of the team, I think, from S-Kart Racing. Over to you, Jelenia.
Ci siamo spostati dalla tribuna praticamente a bordo pista, ormai manca davvero pochissimo alla fine di questa 24 ore e sono in questo momento con 2 componenti di Kart Working. Ragazzi, è stata lunga ma siamo praticamente agli sgoccioli.
Lunghissima e sembra ancora lunga anche se manca solo mezz'ora e stiamo lottando per portare a casa il miglior risultato possibile, che non sarebbe male, non diciamo niente, siamo in lotta fino alla fine quindi non possiamo mollare.
Ovviamente, ma dal punto di vista invece dell'organizzazione più che altro della stanchezza, come l'avete gestita?
È stata dura anche perché per noi era la prima esperienza in una 24 ore e ci sono stati momenti difficili, però comunque eravamo attrezzati con un camper, quindi chi era stanco aveva la possibilità di riposare un po' per quanto poteva riuscire e l'abbiamo gestita.
Ma tu eri in pista quando c'era l'alba?
No, io ho girato all'inizio.
Quindi all'inizio poi
Ho girato all'inizio e poi mi sono fatto tutta la notte come team manager. Alle 6 sono andato a dormire.
L'ha saltata l'alba, l'ha saltata lui l'alba.
Giustamente c'era bisogno di riposo. Ecco, a proposito di team manager, questa è una gara particolare.
Right, so we're backtracked, so a big thank you to Jelenia there for another interview down with the team from S-Kart Racing. But with 32 minutes, it is really coming down to the wire. And looking at it from this perspective, looking at the pit stop minimum window time, so effectively, if PF Racing were to go flat out for the next 31 minutes and 50 seconds, if they only serve 57 minutes and 46 seconds, the time that would be added would be 30 seconds onto their race time, plus an additional 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That's just over 3.5 minutes worth of penalties that would be issued. Play kart now in for what is going to be their last pit stop of the race. But let's head back down to Jelenia once again.
Eccoci, siamo nuovamente in diretta. Allora riprendiamo un po' da dove ci eravamo lasciati, perché poi giustamente mi raccontavi che hai fatto anche il team manager. Essendo la 24 ore una gara molto particolare, hai riscontrato magari una diversità anche nel ruolo del team manager?
Sì, sicuramente, perché a differenza delle altre gare c'era anche la possibilità e l'obbligo di cambiare il kart massimo ogni 4 ore, quindi bisognava stare attenti anche a quello, cercare il più possibile, anche se era difficile perché erano abbastanza nascosti, cercare di capire i kart migliori dove erano e provare a prenderli.
Comunque il bilancio su questa prima 24 ore è positivo?
Sì, siamo tutti.
Se giudichiamo dalla stanchezza sì, no dai, sì, ci siamo divertiti direi.
Quindi si può rifare?
Certo.
Quindi noi li aspettiamo ovviamente, perché tanto la 24 ore non si ferma qui, ci saranno anche altri appuntamenti, soprattutto nella prossima stagione. Linea a voi!
Thank you very much, Elenio. Of course, great to hear from the teams all the way through our live broadcasting throughout this weekend here at the Pista South Milano. But 30 minutes remain. It's now the final dash to the checkered flag. Oh, right. Hang on a second. What has happened? I've just had a notification that Cartel have just been excluded from the competition. According to the live timing, so that is a blow for the Swiss team with 30 minutes to go. So not too sure what has happened, why that has been shown. Right, PF Racing now in the pit lane for their final stop. They've got to make it over 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Red Racing, the number of 22, third on the podium last year. They're also in the pit lane. Now, NAC team have oh, right. So the reason being is that, unacceptable behaviour in pit lane is the reason that I'm now seeing. So Cartel on their 1,155th lap have just been excluded for unacceptable pit lane behaviour. They were right up at the sharp end of the field. But now it is going to be the rush. NAC team, how late are they going to leave it? That's the key point here. So now, Red Racing, Kart 22, has to serve a minimum of 60 minutes and 40 seconds. Oh, this could be a close run between the two teams, because NAC team's Mattia Massarotto is behind the wheel of the pole sitters for this year's event. Now, Red Racing are several laps down off of PF Racing, but it is the battle between the pole sitters from this year's event and the team that won it last year, who did take pole position but were found to have not slowed down during yellow flags in qualifying and were given a post-qualifying 10-place penalty. Looks to be kart 18, or is it, or kart 13 in the pit lane. That's PF Racing. So I would imagine that Dennis Holger Heller might have put this now. Who is in the driving seat for the last time? NAC team now pits. NAC team now pits on the same lap as PF Racing. Mattia Mazzarotto for NAC team brings the number 28 into the pit lane. So we are getting closer and closer until Red Racing will very shortly hit their minimum pit time accumulation. But then it's going to be the race between PF Racing and NAC team. Now, NAC team, let's see, right. And it's going to be Nicholas Kruger that's going to bring it home for PF Racing. Vika Schlez did the business in qualifying, and despite the mistake, brought the team to an early lead of the race from 11th on the grid with 52 minutes completed. We're down into the final 26 minutes of the race. And we've got a battle between Bremo 58 and Goats Racing Team. They're 7.5 tenths of a second apart. That is the battle for P7. Gas Racing Team and I think it's Sparkart Racing in the number 12. They are battling over 14th position. Escort working, actually. No, it's Sparkart Racing versus Gas Racing Team. And that's 12 versus 32. Right, so NAC team, kart 28, 60 minutes and 20 seconds. So they can come out, if they leave it until 4 minutes and 50 seconds, they will have more than taken their accumulation time in the pit lane over their minimum window that they needed. But it's going to be an agonising wait for the driver behind the wheel, because it was Mattia Mazzarotto that came into pit lane. Daniele Cervaro behind the wheel of the number 22 Red Racing team, who are on course. Now the thing is, Movers LV, they still need to pit, and they've only got just over 14 and a half minutes to get that car. Well, they've only got 14 and a half minutes to get that car into pit lane before the pit lane closes. And Andres Leibniz is behind the wheel of that car and has been in on driving duties for 6 hours and 40 minutes. But my goodness, 24 minutes, and now it is a case of PF Racing. They are going to have to do their level. Well, the thing is, Red Racing is another couple of laps down from NAC team. So NAC team, they're leaving this pit stop long. They want to give themselves the best window possible. And kart 28, it's 60 minutes and 20 seconds, which is effectively a 4 minute. They've got, they're leaving this really late. They're about to hit 4 minutes in the pit lane. This is going to be so close for the NAC team. They've got to get this pretty much spot on or run slightly over, and then that gives them that opportunity. So effectively that is 4 minutes and 44 seconds minimum that pit stop has to be. But that's going to be crucial, and those seconds are counting away. They've got to be very finite with this. And NAC team exit the pit lane. They've by 1 second, just 1 second more. They have hit their minimum accumulation of time spent in the pit lane. So NAC team, 60 minutes and 20 seconds minimum accumulation time. They have just accumulated 1 hour and 21 seconds. Now the thing is, Movers LV are about 38 seconds ahead of Team Volturno. Now, when Leibniz decides to pit, they're going to have to put someone in there, but they've got just over 11 minutes to bring that car into the pit lane as Leibniz completes another lap. But we are fast approaching the final 20 minutes of this race. So at the moment, with 1,100 and soon to be 78 laps completed, we are now so the leaders are about to come down the back straight and into the final corner, which they're going to do now. Our leaders have completed 1,625.64 kilometers. Gabriele Manganaro has just come in for the number 21 crew. That is Bremo 58. And Bremo 58 needs to serve 61 minutes. So 61 minutes and 17 seconds. Bremo 58, 1 hour, 1 minute and 17 seconds. They've just done it with Lorenzo Manfredotti now taking the cart home. It's 1 hour, 1 minute and 26 seconds. But the race is truly on. Between now, the main thing is that PF Racing have just done a low 1 minute 10, and it looks like Daniele Chavaro for Red Racing is starting to pick up the pace. Oh, Nicholas Kruger 1 minute 9.56, and it looks like the driver from Red Racing has just pretty much matched that time. Daniele Cervaro, and has done a 1 minute 9.958. And Movers LV coming to the pits for the final time. So kart 38, 60 minutes and 10 seconds. That's 1 hour and 10 seconds. So that effectively equates to I would say just over a 3 minute 25 second pit stop, and I would imagine they will probably hit their accumulated pit lane time. They've dropped to 5th in the meantime behind Team Volturno. Debris Racing, I think, still might have to hit their minimum pit lane accumulation time. So the Latvians are in. They've dropped behind KMRS Racing, who have moved up to 5th position. Had it not been for that technical failure for last year's runners-up in the number 40, it could have seen possibly a different permutation for the result in the top 3. However, KMRS Racing will have to come back in 12 months' time in 2026. So Movers LV, that's now 58 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's going to be around about 2 minutes, and if they make it 2.5 minutes on that pit stop, I think they're good. They're good on that one because their minimum pit lane accumulation time 1 hour and 10 seconds. It's got to be 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and that will be enough. So they've probably got about 40 seconds approximately to wait until that happens. But Nicholas Kruger just showcasing the outright reliability of their consistency over the course of the 24-hour race. 6 minutes until pit lane officially closes. Now, Movers LV, they've got to time this right. And I'm wondering when the cart will start moving down the pit lane. It might be very shortly. And right, Movers LV, 1 hour and 13 seconds. They have hit their minimum pit stop requirement accumulation time. As Debris Racing, they have come in for their final pit stop. So we're due to have out of the 40 starters, just 23 hours and 45 minutes ago, we are down to the final 15 minutes. And because of the fact that there was a possibility of rain in the air, we have now got some wonderful blue sky up ahead here at Ottobiano at the Pista South Milano for the second running of the ultimate endurance race, the 24. And PF Racing from Germany with a 3-lap lead. That is an incredible, that's probably the best part of 4 kilometers between themselves and NAC team. We've got Dimitri Polazar behind the wheel. Daniele Cervaro has done a mega amount of work for Red Racing. He's been in the kart for for the best part of nearly 9 hours of the 24. So he's done over a third of the racing for that team. Over 8.5 hours by Daniele Cervaro. This just goes to show that, as I said when we started this race nearly 24 hours ago, you can't win the race on turn 1, but you can definitely bet your bottom dollar that you've got to finish first. First, you must finish. End of story. Point blank. Period. Three minutes to go until the pit lane officially closes. And anyone that goes into the pit lane when that pit lane window is closed may pick up at least a 30-second penalty. We saw that with Wild Ball Racing as they ducked into the pit lane with seconds before the pit stop windows open. The pit lane opened for 23 hours and 40 minutes. And I must say, complimenti a tutti alla squadra TB Kart in pit lane. A great job by everyone, even the likes of Paolo, Enea, Ellie, and everyone that's been involved behind the scenes. Francesco, also Billy, a fellow Brit. There's been a big squad assembled through IRK Promotion and also TB Kart SRL to bring this event to life. And to see a big contingent of drivers, I would probably count more to the point of over 120 plus competitors here this weekend. It's just been absolutely brilliant to see not only the teams, not only the drivers, but the families that have come to support them, to give that pick-me-up laugh, that give you a little bit of a joke and a smile and try and pick you up off your feet, help dust yourselves down. But the number 13, once again, PF Racing. And we've had another. Okay, so Auto Virgate Supercar have just received a penalty of an additional penalty of 2 laps for not having a driver change during a pit stop on lap 1,147. This is going to be an emphatic victory for the team that has been pretty much leading it from after the first couple of hours. It was a battle between NAC team and PF Racing, but PF Racing had at least a 6 to 7 lap lead when we went off air yesterday at 10 p.m. local time. The laps continue to rack up here at the Pista South Milano. And it has been a display that any team that has all their soldiers in line, like a military operation, to go and storm the castle, whatever the situation is. So, countdown, the penultimate one, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit lane officially closed. It's now down to the final 10 minutes. As now we have completed 1,187 laps of the 1,380 metre circuit here at Ottobiano. And that equates to 1,638.06 kilometres total distance travelled by our leading team. Once they got a firm hold with both hands on the lead, they have not looked back. They have timed everything to Teutonic precision, and they have knocked it out of the park for the second year in a row. But at this point, even with 9 minutes on the clock remaining, do not count your chickens before they hatch. You've got to be assured that victory is there once that cart's front bumper and driver transponder crosses the line. So we could be on course for maybe another 9 laps, which would put us, oh my goodness me, another 9 laps would put us on 1,197 laps, and that would be a total distance of just over 1,600, well, that'd be just shy of 1,652 kilometres of completed tours of this circuit, not including the formation lap behind the safety cart. But Nicholas Kruger is driving that R1 18 horsepower Honda powered 390cc TB kart like he stole it. NAC team looking very solid in second position in the number 28, and it could be a great success. Not quite either the second or the top step of the podium, but Daniele Cervaro will bring the kart for Red Racing home. Daniele started the race and also took the team into qualifying. But the way that Nicholas Kruger, who's going through, and we've had a couple of penalties going to Ottobiano Supercar. Failure to comply with the weigh-in procedure, 2 laps penalty. They've had, and they've also got an additional 12 seconds added to their time in the pits, and that was on lap 1,147. So that will be 6 penalty laps. That'll be 6 laps taken away from kart 9 at the end of this race, and that will put them down in the 38th position out of 40. But PF Racing have come to Ottobiano with a crack squad of drivers. Just a quick attention to all the teams and the drivers that have come here to Ottobiano to take part in the second edition of the 24. Once we've completed the race, we will be having our official awards ceremony just by the awnings where the hospital, where you checked in earlier on this weekend. We're going to have our presentation to our top 3, so we'd like to invite all teams, all drivers, all family members that have come along as well to help us celebrate the top 3 in the 24. And that's an invitation from us here at TB Kart, SRL and IRK Promotion. We want for as many people to help celebrate what has been an adventure that just over 23 hours and 55 minutes ago was a journey into the unknown. But at this point, there is one team that has shined like a bright Germanic diamond, and it is this team here. Niklas Kruger, one of the 4 crack drivers brought over from the land of Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche et al. They are on their way to a successful and also dominant defence of the title that they took last year, picking up the inaugural prize of not just the winners' medals, the winners' trophy, but a cheque for €10,000. Kruger goes on to lap 1,193 with just over 4 minutes on the counter. So that probably gives us 4 laps remaining, including this one, and that will be 1,196 laps, and they will complete just over 1,650 kilometers here at the Pista South Milano. Vika Schleds put the kart on provisional pole. It was taken away from them due to an unfortunate mistake by the youngster, who I would imagine is the youngest out of the team. I've kept an eye on Vika Schled's rental kart career. He's been successful indoors, and this could be the biggest crowning moment for that young man as Niklas Kruger comes through the final right-hander at high velocity. 3 minutes to go. Call that 3 laps. And still, Kruger is running at a blistering pace. He's been in the 109s for an absolute monumental amount of laps. He's been in the kart for over 6 hours and 10 minutes. And what's even more impressive, he is the one that is going to bring that kart home, and he will have done the most driving time out of anybody. I think, yes, he will do. Second to that will be Dennis Höller is going to be the one that's going to have done the most driving time, but only by minutes. Only by minutes. We are coming down to what is now in the 2025 edition of the 24, brought to you by TB Kart SRL and IRK Promotion. Niklas Kruger from PF Racing goes on to the penultimate lap of this race. We're on lap 1,195. We have absolutely smashed through the glass ceiling of the distance that was covered in mixed conditions last year. And Kruger has been absolutely bulletproof in what will be just over a 25-minute stint. Kruger brings the kart through into the third and final sector. Less than 60 seconds. Next time around, it will be, more to the point, the final lap of the second running of the 24. From 11th on the grid, it's going to be one more tour. Last lap is underway. Final lap has now been confirmed. And the team from Germany have done an absolute, they pulled a flanker on everybody else based on consistency and key strategic calls. Kruger now into sector 2 for the final time. He's got a couple of back markers in front of him, but that's not really going to be something he's going to have to pay too much attention to. And now it's through out of the infield for the final time here on lap 1196 here at Ottobiano. Und jetzt kommt die letzte paar Kurven, the last few corners. Heute in 2025, sie werden ihre Titel verteidigen. Out of the final corner, PF Racing will take the checkered flag and 10,000 euros. They've done it twice in a row. Gratulation, Dennis Höller, Niklas Kruger, Vika Schletz, and Christian Duven. Please excuse me going into German for that one. I am an 8th German by descent, but that was an absolute masterclass. Red Racing, complimenti, 3rd for the 2nd year in a row. But we've got another team to wait for. They were on pole position. They're going to finish 2nd best, but out of the final corner, NAC team, complimenti, 2nd for kart 28. PF Racing win the 2nd edition of the 24 by TB Kart SRL and IRK promotion here at Pista South Milano. NAC team 2nd, Red Racing 3rd, Team Volturno, and look at the sportsmanship post-race. Everyone going up to Niklas Kruger saying congratulations, well done on a fantastic job. KMRS Racing, 2nd last year, disaster with 3 hours to go, but they came back to finish 5th behind Team Volturno. Movers LV on their debut in the 24, the Latvian crew ran out the top 6 ahead of Goats Racing Team, Roma Karting 7, Bremer 58, and Spain's Formula Cero round out the top 10. Play Kart, RMAX Junior, S-Kart Working, Gaz RT, Spark Kart Racing, Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus 1, RG Racing, JPRTF, TRX Motorsport, and Slipstream Racing round out your top 20. Goat Slab, Fork Racing Kart, Mr. Karting Warwick, Lions RT, RPM, Bremo 77, RKS Racing, Amici de Carbiela, Debris Racing, and Wild Boar Racing round out the top 30. 38 finishers out of 40 after the end of this race with karting tips. Ottobiano Kart Academy, Bremo 69, Electro Group Karting, Gasseria 361, Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus 2, Alto Virgati Supercar, and RMAX Young. Go TV retiring on with 17 hours and 5 minutes in, and Cartel with 30 minutes to go being disqualified due to unacceptable behaviour in the pit lane. Could have been in the mix for a top 5 finish, but PF Racing make history once again as the team from Germany conquer the 24. It has been one of those races that will never be forgotten. It's a short history, the 2nd running of the 24. But let's head down to Riccardo in the pit lane. Over to you, my friend.
Arrivato. Siamo in onda. Ed è finita la gara della 24 ore con il team PF Racing che vince questa straordinaria gara. Puoi scendere. È stanco Daniele Cervaro, terza posizione. Team Red Racing, congratulations, the champion of this 24 hour is the team PF. Allora, you are happy?
Yes, we are very happy. Good performance from the team. Good strategy. All perfect. Nice event. Yes.
Beh, ha detto che è stata una gara perfetta, un evento straordinario, contentissimo della vittoria. E intanto abbiamo il terzo classificato anche, il buon Daniele Cervaro del team Red Racing. Insomma, vi è mancato qualcosina oggi per vincere la corsa, comunque un podio agguantato di forza.
Assolutamente, in primis complimenti ai vincitori perché hanno fatto tutto bene fin dall'inizio, molto bravi, e noi sì, ci abbiamo messo un po' a capire delle cosettine.
Beh, comunque,
Sì, dai.
voto da 0 a 10?
7.
7?
Sì.
Beh, dai, più che la sufficienza.
Esatto, sì, sì.
Ti lasciamo andare a festeggiare col tuo team, a breve ci saranno anche le premiazioni. Grande Daniele Cervaro e tutto il Red Racing. Perfetto, intanto le ultime direttive di Paolo, guardate che bello, che belli abbracci con il pilota tedesco Kruger. Allora Paolo, allora Paolino,
Eccoci qua.
è finita, la bandiera a scacchi è stata sventolata, ha vinto il team PF Racing
Per la seconda volta.
per la seconda volta. Queste pippe di italiani.
No, siamo
Sto scherzando.
Siamo fortissimi. I ragazzi PF sono stati, lo sappiamo, sono forse il team più forte che c'è oggi in circolazione, ma non per me, non da meno i ragazzi di NAC e di Red gli hanno venduta carissimo la pelle. Poi ovviamente queste gare fanno la differenza, il millesimo, il decimo di secondo, il passo gara, la strategia, ma è stata una gara vincente e bellissima per tutti. Ho la pelle d'oca, conclusa.
Ecco, tra l'altro un lavoro straordinario da parte di TB Kart e IRK Promotion, un impegno veramente importante, 24 ore, che poi per loro non dura 24 ore la gara, ma ne dura 72/90 perché qua adesso dovranno smontare tutto. I preparativi avvengono già dal mercoledì, oltre a tutto il lavoro a casa, quindi veramente per organizzare una cosa del genere c'è veramente dietro un impegno straordinario. Vorrei che da casa facesse un plauso veramente a loro, perché sono belle le gare, bello tutto, ma chi poi si fa veramente il mazzo, oltre ai piloti, perché 24 ore sono difficili da reggere, è tutto lo staff IRK e TB Kart, quindi bravissimi.
Sì, esatto, faccio solo un piccolo appunto per ringraziare e elogiare i ragazzi Tibi da tutti noi, da Torch, Matteo, Eneo ovviamente, Eli,
La direzione gara
con Micio, Salvo, Libe, lo staff. Oggi veramente abbiamo dato il massimo, anzi questi 2 o 3 giorni
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to say a few thank yous. A big thank you to the team here at Pista South Milano at Ottobiano. A big thank you to Riccardo. A big thank you to Yelenia, who have been reporting all the way through our live coverage. A big thank you to everybody behind the scenes that have made this work. Of course, PF Racing, 2 times the winners of the 24, brought to you by TB Kart SRL and IRK Promotion. A big thank you to all our viewers on the IRK TV YouTube channel and the Facebook page for IRK Promotion. Also those watching on Italian Digital TV 244 and Go TV channel 809. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and as they say, ciao, thank you for watching. We're going to celebrate with our winners. We will hopefully see you back for the 3rd edition in 2026. Arrivederci.
Ed eccoci in compagnia del NAC Team, terzi classificati. Allora, scusa, secondi classificati, non vorrei togliervi una posizione. Dopo 24 ore rischio che mi falciate, mi linciate. Allora, quanto sei contento da 0 a 10?
7, dai.
7-8.
7
7/8. La vittoria oggi era impossibile?
Allora, nel complessivo sono stati più bravi, quindi come squadra hanno meritato nel complessivo. E noi non siamo stati perfetti in certi frangenti, quindi ai distacco che abbiamo subito si è aggiunto anche degli errori nostri. Però dai, ci portiamo a casa il secondo posto.
E la pole position.
Esatto.
Che non è da tutti.
Non è la mia, di Santi.
I Santi, sì. Allora io vorrei che vi radunaste, ragazzi, i primi 3 classificati qua. Ragazzi, toglietevi anche il casco, cioè, ho capito che ce l'avete da 24 ore, ma... Ok, queste sono le belle parole. Ok, togliete pure helmet. Out. Ok. Daniele Cervaro, rimettiti il casco. Rimettiti il casco, cacchio. Eccoli qua. Guardate che bel trio, un bel abbraccio tra tutti e tre. Questa è la cartolina prima delle premiazioni di 3 squadre rappresentate dagli ultimi piloti che sono saliti per l'ultimo stint, per una gara veramente straordinaria. Vediamo sul loro volti tanta stanchezza, sembrate Verstappen quando scende dalla propria Red Bull, però è tutto veramente molto molto bello. Io volevo ringraziare tantissimo anche Alex, la voce ufficiale di tutto il weekend qui a Ottobiano. Very good job, and the voice veramente spettacolare.
I think really at the end of the day, Niklas and the whole team at PF Racing showed why they have defended their title. You know what I'm going to do for Niklas's benefit? Ich werde mit ihm auf Deutsch sprechen. I will speak to him. So, Niklas, komm bitte mal hier. Nochmal ein Sieg bei PF Racing bei den 24 Stunden hier in Ottobiano. Ich muss ehrlich sagen, dass das ganze Team, der Dennis, der Vika und der Christian sind ganz zufrieden mit diesem Sieg. Nochmal 10.000 Euro in die Tasche zu stecken, ne?
Ja, natürlich. Ja, lief bis auf 1, 2 Strafen wirklich richtig gut, das Rennen. Das sind mit allen Karts immer schnell gewesen, alle Fahrer, also auch wenn wir unter den Karts oder den Fahrer nur getauscht haben, waren wir auch immer richtig schnell.
Ja.
Und ich glaube, das war einfach das Erfolgsrezept, dass wir einfach alle 4 Fahrer durchweg schnell waren.
Mhm.
Ja.
Und wir haben schon das gleichzeitig Pace zwischen alle 4 Fahrern war genauso wie knapp. Ich sehe auf die Zeitnahme für das ganze Rennen. Wie man muss sagen, auch von 24 Stunden Endurance-Rennen muss man sagen, dass Konsistenz ist das wichtige Faktor bis zum Sieg natürlich.
Genau, Konstanz ist das Allerwichtigste. Gute Strategie, 4 gute Fahrer, keiner, der irgendwie langsamer ist. Und auch wir haben vorher 1, 2 Strafen gekriegt, dann Ruhe bewahren und einfach weitermachen. Und ja, das Rennen ist lang. Nach der zweiten Kurve waren wir auf Platz 30 oder 35.
Ja, stimmt.
Und ja.
Aber das war ein bisschen Pech nach Qualifying mit Vika, der hat schon auf den Pole Position gesetzt für euch. Aber doch eine gelbe Flagge. Das Beschleunigung war nicht so gut. Das Beschleunigung von seiner Seite war ein bisschen zu hart. Dann kommt eine 10 Plätze Bestrafung bei Startaufstellung. Aber er kommt nach 52 Minuten ganz knapp am vorne. Das war wirklich der Hammer, was der Weg hat gemacht in dem ersten Stint natürlich.
Ja, das war echt der Wahnsinn. Also gerade in der zweiten Kurve, da lief es einfach ein bisschen blöd. Er war außen und dann kam er aufs Gras und dann waren wir ziemlich weit hinten. Da hat er teilweise pro Runde 5 Positionen gut gemacht. Das war schon der absolute Wahnsinn, wie der da nach vorne gefahren ist.
Aber muss ich am letzten Mal sagen, Niklas, gratuliere. Sieger der 24 Stunden here in Ottobiano. So basically, despite the penalties, Niklas and the whole team, consistency on lap time, 4 strong drivers, that meant victory for the number 12. And that now means, Ricardo, that means PF Racing for the last 2 years have defended their title. Of course, I want to see this event back, and I'm sure that Paolo Francesco will be
Thank
putting. You know, we have to say grazie a tutta la squadra TB Kart and IRK Promotion. They've done a fantastic job. Some of the team have not slept all the way through the night. It's, as I said, sports cars have the Le Mans 24 hours. In the arrive and drive world, we here at TB Kart bring the premium ultimate endurance race, the 24. And it's been a real pleasure working alongside Signore Interviewers. I'm now going to nickname him Riccardo. Yeneni has been absolutely fantastic. I have to say a big thank you to Bear and Simone from 360 Media that have also been working with us on the social media. But you know what? I'm going to stop talking. Let's leave the last word to my good friend Riccardo here as we sign off here on TV.
Grazie mille a te Alex, diceva appunto che il team vincitore PF per il secondo anno ha vinto questa 24 ore, quindi merito a loro. Un grande applauso a tutto il team TB Kart IRK, come dicevamo prima, un grande grazie ad Alex per la sua voce straordinaria. Per questa 24 ore ragazzi è tutto, tra poco ci saranno le premiazioni che però verranno caricate successivamente sul canale YouTube, quindi rimanete sintonizzati sul canale ufficiale YouTube IRK TV. Grazie mille a tutti quanti per aver insomma gustato la nostra diretta su Sky e sul digitale terrestre. Prossimo appuntamento in TV per TB Kart e IRK Promotion è l'ultimo weekend di ottobre a Siena. Ciao, grazie mille per averci seguito e naturalmente ragazzi rimanete sintonizzati sulle frequenze di GoTV, che una lunghissima programmazione ancora vi attende in nostra compagnia. Ciao!
Ciao!